Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the GC Show. I hope y'all are doing absolutely amazing here on this Monday afternoon. And I just know you're doing absolutely amazing because that's how you view your life, right? If you have no idea what I'm talking about, maybe you should check out last week's episode where we talked about how your life is based on how you view it. And this week, we're talking about part two of that episode. We talked about last week how God puts blessings and trials in front of us and how we should view those things. This week, we're talking about when God puts blessings and trials in front of us, what we do with them. Today, we're talking about free will. I could have included this into last week's episode, but, as I was doing the outline, I was like, oh, I could take this and make a whole new episode out of it. Whereas, if I would have kept this into the episode last week, I would have touched on it a little bit, but not gotten really deep into it. And last week's episode probably would have been 25, 30 minutes, which I don't want to bore you guys. I want to keep these short and sweet. I try to aim for 10 to 12 minutes, but I have not been anywhere close to that recently. But we're going to try to keep these short and sweet because I feel like that keeps people's attention better and they actually get more out of it. So our verses, or no, it's just one verse. Our verse today, it comes from Deuteronomy 30, verse 19. It says, "Today I have given you the choice between life and death, between blessings and curses. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Oh, that you would choose life so that you and your descendants might live." Now, what is Deuteronomy 30:19 showing us? This verse is showing us that God gives us choices in life, and He expects us to make decisions for ourselves. God isn't just going to control us, and He's not going to do everything for you. You're going to have to do some things on your own, and God puts stuff in front of you. Most definitely, He's in control of what you are put in, what situation you're put in, but it is up to you what you do with that. God puts decisions in front of us, and we have free will to make decisions with what we want to do in our life. God's not going to do everything, and with that, we have to put forth our best effort with what God has given us. He has given us many different things in life, and has given us many different opportunities to make decisions that could glorify Him or could go our own way, maybe. And what we need to do is take what God has given us and use that to His glory and do everything for the glory of God. When God puts blessings and challenges in front of you, how we talked last week, how you view things in your life, your life is based on how you view it. You have the decision as to whether you want to view your life for the good things, for the blessings, for the purpose and why everything happens, or if you want to view it for the negatives. God gives us decisions in life. So, you might think, of course, God is in control. He is in control of so many things in life. And with that, it's so easy when situations come up in life that we're just, oh yeah, God's in control. Everything will be okay. And then we don't do anything. There's one that I do a little bit. I know some other people do. With tests in school and stuff, I don't know, if you just don't study and then expect to do good on a test because, oh, God's in control. Oh, I didn't study, but, I'll do fine because God's got this. God's in control. And most definitely, yes, God is in control. He's in control of the universe. He's in control of the weather. He's in control of the situation you're put in. Most definitely, God is in control of that. But, you can't just expect to not study and then do good on the test. You have to actually put forth effort if you want to do good. And now, I'm not saying that you can't wait, how's this word? There can be times where you don't study and do good on the test, and that's a miracle. And that is, quite honestly, only the way that you can get that is because of the wisdom that God has given you. You can't just say God is in control and then not do anything. You have to actually put forth effort and do something if you want to see great results with what God has put in front of you. And think about with a test, for example, God has given you the opportunity to study. He has given you the material, and He has given you a brain to be able to think and work and problem solve. And why would you not use that to perform well on the test? Why would you not use the abilities that God has given you to perform well on, a task that is put in front of you? And with that too, It's very easy to say God's in control and not do anything. It's the same thing with jobs. Sometimes you hear, I may not have a job right now, but it's all good. God's in control. He's got this. But you have to go get a job interview. God's not just gonna, put it on your lap and all of a sudden, you got a great paying job and boom, you're set for life. Like that's just not how life works. And with like health issues, you can't just say, God's in control. It's all good. I can just eat however I want, but God's in control, so my health will be fine. Like that's not how it works at all. And not preparing for emergencies. June 25th. That's a day I will talk about later. And actually, I've already planned it out in a future episode where I will talk about June 25th specifically and why that holds great importance in my life and why that is one of the sole reasons why the GC show even exists. I will talk about in the future episode, and I will actually pan back to this section right here, pan back to this episode specifically because this is something that's very important to me. But yeah, not preparing for emergencies. It's very easy to just say, God's in control and then not do anything. I'm leaving you on a little cliffhanger. We'll tune into that. We'll dive back into that one later. That's a whole other episode right there within an episode. So, there's an example in the Bible that we have too with, doing with what God has put in front of us. It's the parable of the three servants. For those of you who may know it, you can check it out in Matthew 25. It is Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30. And, Jesus, of course, whenever he taught through parables because he wasn't just going to tell people straight up, like, oh, yeah, you need to do this to get into heaven. No, he's going to make you think and, get your mind, like, working to understand the kingdom of God. He's not just going to set it on a plate and put it in front of you. You got to actually be able to, like, understand and do something with that and say, like, oh, yeah, this is why this happens and this is why this is like this. God doesn't just, Jesus doesn't just want to, like, put it in front of you. He wants to make you, make your brain work and actually fully understand it. So he was teaching in a parable. It's a parable of the three servants. I'm not going to read the whole parable because it's like, 14 to 30. That's 15 verses, something like that. I'm so bad. No, wait, because if you're counting verse 14, it'd be 17 verses, I think. My math might be wrong there. I really don't care if my math is wrong there. Actually, no, I should care because God has given me the ability to think and do math, so I should care about if I get the math right. But I think that's 17 verses. Okay, I think it's 17 verses, if not. Oh, crap. All right. So the parable of the three servants, basically what happens is there's a man that is going away, and he has three servants, right? The parable of three servants. And he gives to one servant 5 bags of silver. He gives to the second servant 2 bags of silver, and he gives to the third servant 1 bag of silver. And he goes away and he says, like, do well with these bags of silver. And then what the first servant does with 5 bags of silver is he invests it. He does great with his 5 bags of silver. The second one with the 2 bags of silver, he invests it. He does great with the silver. The third one with the 1 bag of silver, he just hides it away and doesn't do anything with it. And then when the man comes back, he comes back to his first servant and he sees what the first servant has done. He says, well done, good and faithful servant. And then he blesses him and gives him even more. He looks at the second servant who has also invested his silver and says, well done, my good and faithful servant. And he blesses him and gives him more opportunities to do great. And then whenever he comes to his third servant, he is very disappointed in him because he hasn't done anything with what he was given. And, he rebukes him for not doing something with what was put in front of him. And this is a representation of, the kingdom of God. God has put, like, the bags of silver are skill sets that are put in front of us. And God has given each and every one of us a different skill set. And whenever we trust in God, that does not mean that, like, we just can avoid responsibility. No, we have to take what is put in front of us and do great things with that in this world to glorify Christ. Because, God has made each and every one of us different for a reason. And that is because, he has a different purpose for each and every one of us to do things in this world. But if we don't do with what God has given us, it's a complete waste. And just like the man, looked down on his third servant who didn't do anything with his, ration of silver, it's the same way that, like, if you don't do anything with what God has given you, the skills that God has given you, I mean, he sure is going to be disappointed in you. Now, granted, he still loves you, but he's going to be disappointed that that you didn't do anything with what he has given you. So ultimately, right, we are all given different skill sets, and we should use those skills for the glory of God. Just like in the way that the two servants used their bags of silver and multiplied them and invested them, we should do that as well and take the skills that God has given us and invest them back in the kingdom of God. So our main point for episode 21, dude, episode 21, I mean, okay, I want to yap. I actually just want to get to the main point, but 21 episodes is insane to me. And the fact that people still tune in after 21 episodes is insane to me. Because I feel like I yap a little bit. Actually, a lot. Okay, I'm doing it right now. Let's get back into it. The main point for episode 21 is that, God is most definitely in control of the universe. He is in control of the weather. And he is in control of many other things. And more specifically, God is in control of the situation that you are put in. But it is up to you as to what you do with that situation, as to what you do with what God has given you. That's the point. That's the lesson for today. God has given each of us a different skill set, and it is up to us what we do with those opportunities. And most definitely, God is in control, and he is in control of what is put in front of us, but we are in control of our decisions. We are in control of what we do with what God has put in front of us. So that is what I want you to remember and take away from this lesson. So as always, questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know, because I like getting feedback, and really just anything, let me know, because I like listening. I like listening. Yeah. I get good feedback from one of my buddies. He usually sends me like a video or something every week, or almost every week. You know who you are. I appreciate that, big dog. Um, I like little things like that, because you guys don't understand. Whenever I get like a compliment, or just like, when people see me in the hallway school, they're like, "Oh, GC, how we doing?" Like, "Oh, listen to the new episode, it's great." Like, you guys have no idea, but that literally makes my day. And like, it just helps me to remember that even though these videos, they're getting like 20, 30 views, and social media these days, it's so like, 20, 30 views is like absolutely nothing, because so many people are getting like hundreds of thousands and like millions of views. But for me to think about, like, if I was standing on a stage and speaking in front of 30 people that were sitting in a chair listening, like, that's actually a lot of people to me. And I don't know, like 30 views, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it certainly is if you like put it into the perspective of like people you're talking to. And the crazy thing was, whenever I started this, I thought like, 5 or 6 people would tune in every week. But it's been like significantly more than that. And I am beyond thankful for everyone that has tuned in and everyone that has supported the GC show. And, quite honestly, if this is like something I do every week till the day I die, I would totally be fine with that, because I love doing this. I love sitting down and recording episodes like this and giving little mini lessons. Even though, when I sit down and listen back to these, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't say what I wanted to say. And like, I missed out on an opportunity to say what I wanted to say. Like, it's still fun, and I'm still learning, trying new things, and that's the fun of it. It's like I've stepped out of my comfort zone, and now it's like I'm comfortable in the uncomfortable. And now, like, recording these episodes isn't even hardly uncomfortable anymore. Even though it still feels like in my mind I'm like public speaking. I mean, it technically isn't. I'm talking to my phone. But yeah, it's crazy, bro. Like, I don't know. Whenever I started, I was like, oh, dude, imagine we're on like episode 10. It's going to be so much. And then we're on 21 right now. Like, it's insane. Just think season 1's going to end and season 2 is going to roll around. And then, I shouldn't be spoiling that. But yes, season 1 will end at some point and season 2 will roll around. I already have plans for season 2. I ain't telling y'all yet, though. You'll find out one of these days. Yeah, you will. Okay, I'm just yapping for a little bit now. I bet you guys probably want to go and don't want to hear me yapping, but if you do want to hear me yap, nice. I mean, I don't know people who really would want to hear me yap, but anyways, of course, if you know what anyone may need to hear, this lesson or any of the other ones, I'd encourage you to share with them. Not so that I can get all the views in the world, but so that we can point even just one more person toward Christ with a God-centered lesson, because that is the goal of the GC show. So, of course, do great with what God has put in front of you, with the skill set that God has given you, and don't let it go to waste like the servant with the one bag of silver. Do great things with what God has given you in this world. So, as always, thank you guys for listening. I will see you guys next week. Be great today, and praise God.